Man on the Moon 3, The Chosen, by Kid Cudi.
Yes. It is an album.
It is 18 songs, 58 minutes, and 24 seconds long, to be precise.
Oh, yeah, it does say that now. And this is, so Kid Cudi is a pretty long, storied kind of discography.
Yes.
In fact, the Man on the Moon 1 and 2 came out in like 2009, 2010.
Wasn't that his 2009? That was Day Night was in First Man on the Moon, right?
Yes. Day Night was like the
first
prototypical,
thing that, that's the most 2000 song I could really think of, other than Ursher Baby.
Yeah.
And that's when he kind of like Kid Cudi exploded. And the thing with Kid Cudi that we enjoy him when he's usually with people or like helps produce other stuff for a lot of projects, because I really don't hear him by himself too often, or him and his old stuff. Like the stuff with Kids See Ghosts with Kanye, there was some stuff in there that was fantastic. I really liked it. And so there were some other things where I'm like, Kanye needs to just chill a little bit.
Yeah, and we even talked about it in that review, that like that was a situation where both artists pair each other down enough to make them both tolerable.
Exactly.
So and so since Man on the Moon 2, he's done like a bunch of different other little projects here and there, Kids See Ghosts being the more recent one. And then like projects fully within his own like sort of repertoire, but like definitely going in a lot of different directions. But I think Man on the Moon 3 brings a lot of that craziness that is happening with Kid Cudi and his like creativity that's definitely there.
Yeah.
But gives some sort of like cohesion and sense to it, and like the most sort of like logical project he has produced, I think.
I think it's the most cohesive one he's done in a long time, because that was always my problem with him, is he has so many ideas that a lot of it can get washed out a bunch. But this is the first time where I've heard an album straight through where everything is, it seems like it belongs in this album. There's still some stuff I don't necessarily like in here, but there's a lot I actually enjoy within the album, which I'm surprised about, actually.
Yeah, the first proper song is like Tequila Shots, Beautiful Trip is like a kind of short intro.
Yeah.
And the first half of the album that I would basically separate between like the beginning of the album and right before Mr. Solo Dolo, Dolo 3 is the first part of the album is a lot more trappy. A lot of albums tend to do this, especially if they're going to be more experimental in the second half. They do a lot of trap stuff to bring you in. Just start with the bangers. Don't make everyone go, oh God, who gave him the ox? And then like run away.
Like, all right, here we go, another future part 8.
Who gave Caesar the ox? God damn it! Like, what's going on? But like, no, you start with that and it's really good.
I actually thought the trap production was pretty solid for the most part. I mean, some of it, like at the first I heard Tequila Shots, I'm like, all right, this is good. Let me see if it like continues it or if it like stays flat. And going into another day, I thought it was actually pretty good. And this is the trap sound I like, where it's actually reminded me a lot of Childish Gambino's album earlier this year, where it's that almost like really low spoken voice, non-auto-tune, because he did some auto-tune stuff in here, which I do not like. I'll get to that later. That like spoken, really low voice with pretty good like production in the background of the normal trap sounds, plus a lot of other like different sounds and little bloops in the background that make it a little unique.
Yeah, this album embraces a lot more of like Cudi's overall sort of growth, I guess. It's a lot more trappy than the first Man in the Moon 2 project.
Yes.
And you get like kind of the best of that, and She Knows This, which does like a rap to trap sort of bridge in the middle. That's really nice and really tasteful. It just sort of speeds up the beat in the middle in a seamless way that you'd expect from like some other more seasoned artists. More on that later. But She Knows This is actually one of my favorite songs on the album, and it's weird because I don't like of the two halves that I mentioned earlier, the first half I think is the weaker part for sure.
For sure. Yeah. It is. She Knows it's a decent song. It just does the stupid trap things. I don't know if Travis Scott's on there, but it goes, yeah, and like it keeps doing that and stuff in the background. Like that's the stuff of trap that I don't like. It gets so repetitive and annoying.
That's the part where I've just been broken down now.
Exactly. It's just like, all right, we've heard this for 4 or 5 years.
It's like, I guess this is it.
Yeah, like is that all y'all got? That's stuff like that's annoying. But the Kid Cudi stuff, his rap and his flow is fantastic on it. I really like the production other than that. I was like, okay, it's pushing it just a little bit further. Not enough to where I'm like, this is gold, but it's starting to push it a little bit more, which is good.
Yeah. And really, once you get to like Dive, Damaged Heaven on Earth, they're perfectly fine. Dive, you like Dive specifically? Talk about that.
I just like it. I thought it was a good, because it's one of those trap songs that's short that I do like, and it has like different little experimentation with voices and stuff in there that I don't mind, so.
Yeah, it's definitely experimental with as way the voice is concerned. Yeah. But I definitely felt like those, again, if I'm going to point out the filler part of the album, I can very directly point to it, and it's definitely not in the part that we're going to get to in a moment. It's right those three.
Yeah.
Even the show out with Skepta and Pop Smoke was very underwhelming. I've heard a lot of Skepta, I've heard a lot of Pop Smoke, and even Posthumous Pop is better than this. But
yeah, for sure. It's just
making more of this.
That's what I was going to say. Show out, like Skepta's part felt kind of, that's the only part of the album to me that felt out of place, was kind of Skepta's part. Yeah. Just because his accent and stuff is so pronounced and everything, and I'm like, it's a little off-putting in that regard.
And it's like a classic, like sort of Pop Smoke beat where it's very like fast and breakbeat, like New York style kind of thing. And so it's, again, if it fits anywhere on the album, it's where it is. So it's not like horribly out of place, but for the album thematically, it's not quite there. And it's a feature, so that's why it's there, but it definitely doesn't need to be there. Mr. Solo Dolo 3 is this sort of bridge between the two, track, and then like good, because up until this point the album's been really trap heavy and focused, and then
I was getting worried at that point. I'm like, okay, is it just literally going to be this the entire time? I'm like, I want to see the wild Kid Cudi that I know and love and whatnot, and let's see what happens, and then you get to it.
Yes. You get like, also in addition to wild Kid Cudi, you just get like sad boy Kid Cudi.
You get super sad boy Kid Cudi.
Classic thing. Yeah. And like there's sad, just like really deep things here. There's sad people.
Yeah, I mean, you get that even before too with Damage too. It's like, I'm a damaged man. I'm sad. I'm damaged.
Yes, of course. That's almost like verbatim the lyrics, I think. But like it's you do get that Kid Cudi. It's really chill, and it's like a kind of bopping kind of flow to it. It's almost like, I hate that I'm now overusing this phrase, but it's bedroom trap. It's
bedroom trap. I love that phrase though, because it's a really good explanation of a lot of it.
It's not even like hype trap. It just like follows the construction. But it's barely even.
It's one of those videos where it's like listening to Kid Cudi in the bathroom while crying.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like applying your applying your black eyeliner while listening to Kid Cudi.
Yeah. I think where, to me, I started to really like it was at September 16th. I thought that was a really good track where it's like really bridging experimental side, kind of like the airy flowiness of like your standard like almost pop tracks, but mixing trap within there too, and a lot of industrial sounds in the background and stuff with the drum, the beats, and then a soft voice in the background. I thought September 16th was a fantastic track. I'm like, okay, this is what I like to see.
Yeah, it's flat out not a rap song. It's like barely even R&B. It's just like a full out sort of like airy sort of like, let's just go and do this thing with the
exactly. It's just that mixing of genres, it becomes genreless almost, which I really like. It's pushing it forward, doing enough to something that I like. So it's good. I thought you have The Void, which is kind of similar, where it's like, it's that airiness, almost trap and B, but not quite trap and B, because the background beat almost sounds like a 1975, like a George Daniel production drum beat in the background. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. And then having like mixing the auto-tune with the vocals and stuff was like trying to do something different, which I still never really like a big fan of it per se, but it's stuff in there's a bit different, so it's good too.
The Void's a really like beautiful kind of song. It's kind of just like about like dissociating and like trying to go away from like avoiding things that bring you down by going into a void on its own.
Yeah,
it's a really kind of interesting juxtaposition to that, and it sort of sounds musically like, I was trying to pin it down. It's like a slow, sad version of Lenny Kravitz's "I Want to Get Away."
That's just random.
It's like the sadder B-side to that song, even though I guess thematically they are kind of similar.
Yeah.
I just see a lot of like it's also very, again, take out the guitars, of course, but it's very airy. It's sort of slow. It has that sort of like almost early 2000s vaporwave kind of feel to it. That's really nice. Then you have
Lovin' Me with Phoebe Bridgers.
Yeah.
Which is a really random feature to have.
Didn't expect it to work.
Phoebe Bridgers, indie artist. I really enjoy her album earlier this year. It's a fantastic indie album, one of my favorites of the year. I actually like Lovin' Me a lot because it's doing a trap beat without being trappy.
Yeah.
So it's like doing that really nice drum beat in the background without having like your typical snares and other stuff. So it's almost throwing it back to, that early 2000s style while mixing it with modern stuff, while mixing a male vocalist with a female vocalist. And you hear Phoebe Bridgers' lower range in this track a lot. And I actually like it a lot. I thought when I saw it on the album, I was just going through before I listened, I saw with Phoebe, I'm like, okay.
Honestly, it sounds like early like turn of the tens alternative song. Like just an alternative song, barely even like a rapper on it. Just like Kid Cudi is just basically singing with this, trading like different bars with Phoebe Bridgers, but not bars in the rap sense. It's pretty wild. Again, it's like it's showing the best of Kid Cudi's like ability to do this, and it's doing this thing in a way that, if I'm looking at the second part of the album in a vacuum, is better than even the earlier Man on the Moons. It shows like a lot of like growth and success in that. Pale Moonlight kind of brings things down a bit, but it's also at the same time bringing things up because you're getting the return of like the trappier sound from the best of the album, which is good because
it was getting really sad and depressing there. You're starting to put on your eyeliner and you're starting to see a tear and you're like, please no, I don't want to smear it. And then Pale Moonlight comes like, all right, we're back, bitches, and then you put it back on and you're good to go to battle. You know?
Yeah. No, it's a good layout of the album too, which again, just like. This is an artiste working here. It's kind of...
And then after Pale Moonlight, you have Rockstar Nights with Trippie Redd. I still don't fuck with Trippie Redd. Don't like him. Don't like his music, really.
After 3 listens, I like it a little bit more. And I think it's one of those times where...
The song is okay.
Trippie Redd is brought down to a Kid Cudi level, and Kid Cudi's on his level. So, like, they're tolerable together. Yeah. I will never probably listen to a Trippie Redd song again unless it's a really slow week on Audioface and it's a So You Don't Have To opportunity. But, like...
That's it.
Yeah.
And For the Kids is fine too. You have like, it's kind of combining again those slower sounds he had, the kind of that second part of the album mixed with the trap sounds he had at the top. So then it was like those 2 songs are perfect, like literally trying to bridge the 2 parts of the album together and make it as a clean ending. And For the Kids is that, and it's good.
Lord I Know has like one of the sickest like beats and flows and endings I've heard from Kid Cudi possibly ever. Like it's experimental. It's sort of like new wave. Like it's honestly like Kanye at his best.
It reminded me almost a little bit of one of Stormzy's songs late last year that came out at Vossi Bop. It sounded almost like the drums reminded me a little bit of Vossi Bop, not as like trippy in the ears, but enough to where it's like I haven't heard experimental trap drums like that in a while, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's one of my favorite any tracks of an album all year, honestly. Yeah. It's very, very good. And that's saying something because, you know, like, we love our enders here.
Yes, we need to really think about that award because there's too many, like, to even...
There's a lot.
We actually have to think about that and narrow that down. That might be...
Usually there's, like, one that sticks out. Yeah, that's good. This year it's like, I really don't know what to do.
I mean, every month there's definitely, like, 2 albums I could pick from every month if I, went deep down and looked that were, like, really good album enders that were memorable.
You know, musicians as an Audioface confirmed.
Apparently. So yeah, this is a really good album, and like I'm not like the biggest Kid Cudi head, but we know people who are. And
I know. Let's see. Did
Caesar is driving right now because we asked him his opinion, but Caesar really loves Kid Cudi and he really likes this album. So I'm gonna say it has like the Kid Cudi fan thumbs up.
Yeah.
And also, friend of the show, keeper of Kanye knowledge, Annie, also is a Kid Cudi fan. And says that, seeing the disappointing like previous albums that are separate from this project, you get this bounce back, which she says like pushes his skills forward and it's full of bangers. So it's very much making the old heads
like it enough while making us we generally like his music, but usually by himself it's a bit much. But now turning us into be like, okay, yeah, he's actually a really good musician. We really like his solo work now.
And before we start handing out scores for this week, the all-important arbitrary scale scores on Audioface, maybe this might influence what we feel at a certain point. It definitely did for me. There was an interview that he did with Zane Lowe that Annie pointed out to me.
Oh, by the way, side note, Zane Lowe does really good interviews. I'm surprised how well of an interview he does for music. But anyways,
good. We have talked about that a little bit.
He's fantastic. He's very, very good.
But basically, Kid Cudi said in that interview that like he spent on a lot of the previous albums that are separate from the Man on the Moon project, like trying to prove himself that he, like all the other artists, could put out an album once a year and make it feel good. But he didn't like it. He hated the process, and he was basically like, he no longer felt that he wanted to prove that to people anymore. Good. And so he just decided he's going to make it a certain pace. He's going to focus on the things he focuses on. It's going to like be a great album. I mean, that's been a recurring thing that's come up with a lot of albums recently. I think there was like an R&B album we reviewed a couple, like maybe a month or so ago. A similar story, even from the beginning of the track and how it was like laid out. And artists listen to Audioface possibly confirm this is the right way to do music, and you get good results when you do it.
That's what I've been saying the whole time. So it's great to hear.
Arbitrary scale this week is hair dye brands.
If you know one, Rudius Giulianius, his hair dye just started to, just kind of trickle down in the middle of like saying how Trump is, not going to concede and like he is the rightful heir to the throne and he should be the one on the Iron Throne and all that jazz.
He's a little, let's say, he's in need of a new hair dye. So we're gonna give him some.
So we're gonna give him some brands, some little help of hair dye,
Yeah. This is honestly this is the just for men with a touch of gray.
Fucking A, I was gonna say the same thing. I was gonna say like whatever is the one that's the comb one, the specific comb one where it's like it has that random white dude like smiling like this on the side, and it has like silver fox, and
because it's meant to show youth and experience.
There you go, exactly. So this is just for men, touch of gray, of gray, just for the suave in your family.
Just suave. Using suave body wash.
Oh Lord.